But when I was building this project, everything just went fast because you don't have to touch Magento for any code changes or things like that.
Yeah.
So the cache is always warm when you're developing.
How you doing, sir?
I am doing fine, thank you.
Good. So, how is it going for you right now during COVID? I noticed that you live in the countryside, which I thought was
Yeah,
cool. So, how's it going for you?
yeah, it's pretty okay. I don't get the, not really much changes for me personally.
Yeah.
A lot of stores are closed. Restaurants are closed since 2 weeks. But then again, I didn't go out a lot, so
Yeah.
I don't notice a lot of it.
Stay inside, work on the tall stack, and
Yeah, exactly.
stay away from all the madness. That's cool.
Yeah,
I noticed that you chop some wood as a side project. That looks pretty
yeah,
fun.
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah.
That
Yeah, I moved to the countryside about 6 months ago, so now
oh
I have to do
really?
all kinds of things I never did before, like
Uh,
chopping wood. So
so why did you
it's
decide to move there?
yeah, this is where I was born and where I grew up. So I moved to the city because of school and my wife,
Hmm.
and I lived there for I don't know 12, 13 years.
Hmm.
So now my kid goes to school almost. So we were thinking about where do we want to live. So in the end we decided to move back.
That's cool. Did uh
Yeah.
did the COVID stuff have a part to do in that decision? Like, no,
No, no, no,
just
no, no.
just like to be back in the countryside.
Yeah, we decided that 6 months before COVID,
Uh,
and the moment COVID hits, we had to actually to move.
wow. So it was like good
Yeah.
timing.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
That's cool. I've thought about so we moved to Austin about 3 years ago, and I thought I've had this phase of like I want to move out to a more rural area, get some land and stuff like that, get away from people.
Yeah.
And I started looking,
Get a farm.
get a farm, yeah, be like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
technology farm guy. But
Oh yeah.
it's I looked into it and it's so much work and it's like I also wanted to get a tiny house. I don't know if you guys
Yeah,
have those out there at
yeah.
all, but
Yeah.
it's like it's really hard to get the land because you have to get land that's unrestricted. There's all these legal restrictions, even in Texas, believe it or not. So
Yeah.
it was like, yeah, this is too complicated. But I still part of me
Yeah.
wants to.
Friend of my mother is going through the same process,
Oh, really?
and she's trying to get a tiny house for a few years already, but
Oh, really?
she can't get the permits and things like that.
Isn't that annoying? Like
Yeah,
it's like your land. You just want to put a cool tiny house there, and there's all these laws and stuff. It's um
yeah.
yeah, there's all these like minimum square footage laws because basically people don't want their house value to go down. So it's like
Yeah,
yeah, so it's like a minimum of whatever 1,000 square feet or however many square meters that is. So
yeah.
those are the laws that come up. But anyways, how did you enjoy Reacticon? I know there's a lot of like virtual conferences and stuff like that. Reacticon seems like it was well put together, a lot of interesting talks and stuff. One of them was yours. So how did you
Yeah.
like that?
Yeah, I actually suck pretty much at watching online conferences.
Okay.
So because was a speaker, I decided to watch some here and there, but a lot of it was during work days. And when I'm working and trying to listen, it goes one ear in, one ear out. So
Hmm.
I watched Willem's presentation because there was a lot of buzz around it, and I liked it. And I did watch some from Lars.
Uh-huh.
I liked it too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I enjoyed it also because yeah, I got a lot of feedback.
Hmm.
Uh, but in general, I got more from it than other conference I participated in.
Yeah,
And overall, I liked it. So yeah,
yeah, yeah. I thought they did a good job with it. What did you think about Willem's project, Hiva
yeah,
Things?
it sounds promising.
Yeah,
And the whole thinking process he had about everything is too complicated and too much bloated for the default project.
yeah,
I had the exact same thing, and so we had the same starting point, but we came up with a different solution in the end.
yeah,
So yeah, but it was pretty cool to see his solutions.
yeah. Which brings us to your projects, your project, Headless, Magento, basically based on Laravel. So immediately when I saw this, I'm a Laravel guy myself lately. And,
Yeah,
I've been a fan of like Vue Storefront and stuff like that. But when I saw this, and I know it's a proof of concept stage, but I was like, bam, I have a new favorite headless stack for sure. So
yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah, it's a neat project. I know you've been doing Laravel development for a while, right?
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually longer than I'm doing Magento.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So why are you still doing Magento? Most people sort of like Laravel better because it's like, simpler and cleaner. I mean, all the reasons why you sort of built your project on it. Like, why not just do
Yeah, yeah,
Laravel development as like a freelancer?
yeah. The whole development experience is way better in Laravel than Magento. But then again, the problems you have to solve in Magento are, for the most part, way more interesting for me to solve than in most Laravel applications.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah, basically that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's interesting. Why do you think the developer experience is better in Laravel and or the community? I don't know if you would group those together or not. Like developer community, developer experience. Like what do you think it is? I've been trying to figure that out because I feel
Yeah.
similarly, and I don't know if it's documentation or just the fact that like Taylor is the founder and he's still active, and that trickles down. What do you think it is?
Well, I think it's one of the selling points of Laravel in general. So the whole experience is built around the development experience. And Magento has a whole different starting point. It starts off from we want to build the best e-commerce framework, where Laravel starts off with we want to give the best developer experience. So
Hmm.
uh, yeah, and community helps also with that. Um, for example, I post a lot of blog posts on both Magento and Laravel. But in general, I get more responses on Laravel blog posts than I get on Magento blog
Mm-hmm.
posts.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
yeah, there is some difference in there.
Right. I've heard some people say for like comparing Laravel and Symfony that particularly for more like mission critical application, like for e-commerce and stuff, that like I can't remember the specifics, but because of the architecture, like Laravel is sort of easier to develop, um, more intuitive to use, but that Symfony is sort of more robust architecturally. Have you heard that argument at all?
Yeah. But this was an argument I had a few years ago. It did go around sometime, but if you check out the Laravel community, there are lots and lots of examples that is not the case. Both Laravel and Symfony can work in enterprise apps perfectly together.
I think so too.
Um,
Like somebody
yeah,
was explaining it to me and I didn't really understand it. Like I'm not the smartest
no.
developer in the world, but
In the end, it's still just a tool. So it's whatever you make with it.
yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
so your headless project, what's the name of the project again?
Yeah, I called it tall
Tall
Magento.
Magento, right. The tall
Yeah,
stack.
yeah.
Tailwind, Alpine,
Yes,
Laravel, and Livewire. What is it
yes.
about Alpine? So I use Vue, but I keep hearing people talk about how much they love Alpine. I watched a quick like video tutorial recently on it. What is it that everybody loves about Alpine so much? Just simpler?
Yeah. Mostly. With Vue, you have to learn way more about how the models work, and you have these files where you have to put in a template and your script together. And with Alpine, the whole documentation is one GitHub README, so it's way easier to start with. Just put in some,
Right.
load in some extra JavaScript, and you're good to go.
Hmm.
And with Vue, I always use the Laravel scaffold, but I think there are a few more steps in there
Hmm.
to get started with.
Hmm. And what about like I'm thinking about my application. I have like a multi-select widget that I pull into Vue that I use for lots of different things. It's called Vue, I think Vue multi-select, I guess. But it's a nice package that I can use for lazy load, all sorts of different things. Um, like, so I guess if you need components like that, you're going to want to go the Vue route versus if you don't really need any of that, you just want some basic presentation layer logic. That's where you're going to want to go with
Exactly.
Alpine.
Yeah, Alpine is simpler, but it's also less complex. Yeah, I don't know.
Hmm.
You can build really complex things, but most likely Vue is better for those kind of things.
Hmm.
So if you just want to make toggle your menu, uh, Alpine is good for that.
Right.
But if you want to build a complete Fodorama, for example, then probably Vue is better.
Sorry, if you want to build a complete what?
Photorama, the Magento slideshow thing.
Oh,
Uh,
Photorama. Is that the name of the component? Like a
yeah,
slideshow?
I think it's called like that. Yeah,
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, I haven't messed around with those components in a while, but I mean I see what you're saying. So it's a proof of concept, right? But do you have
yeah.
any plans to use it in production? Do you have any clients that might be interested in actually rolling it out, or just something you're playing around with?
I have one client where I do regular work for, and I think if I offer it, they would like it.
Hmm.
Um, but they are selling like suits for parties, so due to COVID, that's not going to work out.
Hmm.
But I would like to build it on for someone, but yeah, I yet have to still find someone.
Yeah, got to build that demand. Hopefully, we can get
Yeah,
somebody interested. Um,
yeah, that would be cool.
yeah. I took a look at the demo. It was cool. It was nice and clean. Are you getting just in terms of headless in general? Are you seeing demand out there? Are most of your clients based in the Netherlands, or are they just all over the place? Like what is your
No,
client
the
base?
Netherlands mostly.
Okay. And are you starting to get people interested? Like I was talking to my buddy yesterday and he was like, headless is something developers like because you basically get to write code from scratch, like greenfield, like business
Yeah,
people don't care. Like, are you seeing business people like interested in it?
yeah. I don't talk to a lot of business people, so I can't really say. But yeah, I know some agencies that are building some headless PWAs kind of things. So there are actually coming projects out there. So most likely,
Yeah. But as far as your clients go, I mean, you're still like whether it's the tall Magento implementation specifically or something else, like you're not getting too much demand at the moment from your clients.
no,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. It's interesting. Like I read this post the other day on this headless implementation with Shopify and stuff, and it was cool. It was just nice and clean. Like so much less code to deal with, so much less stuff to maintain, a lot less features, obviously, but
Yeah,
just a really nice clean code base to deal with. Um, so I guess that's the benefit. Um, what do you oh, I don't really understand Laravel Livewire. I've seen a couple like demos or something of it, but like how does Livewire work?
Well, it's still JavaScript, but it does the JavaScript part for you. So basically, when you have a search form, Livewire as a demo on the side, that exactly does this.
Mhm.
But so you have a component, and there you have some properties on, like a search property. And when you create a view for that, you can say like this input is tied to that property.
Mhm.
So when you put something in a search, Livewire will uh, contact the server, say, hey, this is the input, and then it will render the view with that as your input. So when you search for that exact match for that string, then it will return basically the result of that search.
Mhm.
So it will Livewire will handle the Ajax part for you. It will contact the server, render the result, and
Mhm.
then return it and replace it on your front end.
Okay. Okay.
So a lot of front end logic gets replaced by Livewire,
Mhm.
uh, and it just gets handled by the backend by your server.
Gotcha. And then does it like what kind of a controller do you set up for it to talk to?
No, you don't. That's the
It's
part
magic.
that Livewire handles for you.
That's cool.
So you have a component, and the component is basically a class and a view together.
Mhm.
Uh, so
Nice.
Livewire puts in that data, and the view renders depending on that kind of data it receives.
Gotcha.
And Livewire renders it, the view and returns it to your front end.
Right. Right. Yeah, I gotta mess with that again because my Ajax always ends up like overly complicated with stuff, and it's like manually implementing all these stupid controllers and stuff that all these.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, the beauty about Livewire is that you don't have to do that,
yeah, yeah.
and
Um,
it just works.
right, right, right. In the demo I saw when you were in the Blade template and you were showing like your ID autocomplete for like the product object, and you were pulling in whatever attributes and stuff like that. I was curious, um, are you is it are you pulling in the configuration for all those methods somewhere from Magento, or did you just manually doc block those somewhere, or does it somehow grab everything?
Uh, Yeah, so in the initial Reacticon talk, all those DTOs that I showed were handcrafted.
Gotcha.
But then in the Q&A, Jisha asked me from, yeah, in the Node.js world, they are fetching the GraphQL endpoint and then generating DTOs from that. So is that maybe something to consider? So last week, I built exactly that. So it's a CLI script where you can feed a GraphQL endpoint, and it then reach out all entities in there and create DTOs from them.
Hmm.
So I didn't publish on Twitter yet, but it's out there.
Gotcha. Yeah, I saw some of that discussion. I think of DTOs, or it might have been in your GitHub repo. How do those work? The data transfer objects.
Well, in the basic, the pretty simple. It's just a constructor that receives some data. It holds that data, and then it only has some getter methods.
So is it
So
just a PHP class that you add to your
yeah,
project?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, exactly that. And the thing about the DTO is you can put data in and you can get data out, but you can't mutate it. So it's immutable.
Okay.
And you can also, because it's just a PHP class, you can also have dependencies on other classes. So for a product, you have a dependency on a
Okay.
price class, for example.
Okay. Gotcha. So
So and
so
because thanks to the type hinting PHP Storm or whatever IDE you're using knows exactly the price is this kind of object, so I have this and that available.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So instead of just doing like a GraphQL call and getting sort of like the raw data back, it sort of wraps that in an
Yeah,
object. Okay.
yeah, exactly
That's
that.
pretty cool. Cause like I was looking at like the GraphQL again in like that demo, and it's funny, like the GraphQL query, like kind of reminded me of like raw SQL in your PHP code. Like you just had this like huge like because I haven't used
Yeah,
GraphQL really at all myself yet. But it was just like it was like it felt like a big old raw. Like I felt like I wanted to see that wrapped in some kind of a abstraction to kind of clean
yeah,
it up a
yeah.
little bit.
Yeah. So when you're using GraphQL and PHP, well, at least the library I was using just returns a multi-dimensional array. So yeah, when you're toggling that data around, it's always hard to predict what kind of data is in there. So
But not
that's why
but
I
not
chose the
but not what it returns, but I mean the request. Like the GraphQL
yeah,
request was this like huge chunk of like code. And I was wondering,
yeah,
you know, like if you would abstract that like into like a like a like it made me think of like raw SQL and then that being replaced with uh what are they called? Like the like an object, like an ORM. You know what I mean? That
yeah,
like wraps
yeah,
around all of that SQL.
yeah. There are some libraries out there that do exactly this.
Okay,
But when I started the project, I just wanted to place an order with GraphQL. So I took the simplest library that was out there and started hacking with it.
gotcha,
So that's why I ended up with raw GraphQL.
gotcha,
But maybe in the next iteration, I replace it with the yeah ORM kind of thing.
gotcha. Okay. How like because you work with Shopify, I think a good bit as well as Magento, and I'm curious if you have looked much at like the GraphQL. Does Shopify have a GraphQL API endpoint? Yeah.
Yeah, they have, but I haven't used it yet,
Oh, okay.
so
Yeah, it
I
was kind
can't
of
tell you exactly about it.
gotcha. Yeah, I was kind of curious how they would compare. I know that more and more people are doing headless stuff related to Shopify, and I hear that like BigCommerce is better for headless than Shopify, but I don't know. I know there are some rate limits specifically that are part of the reason, but I don't know too much about like all the specifics of the API endpoints there. How do you like when it comes to Magento versus Shopify? Like, what kind of Shopify work are you doing? Are you doing like simpler like front end stuff, or are you doing like some interesting integration root work type stuff?
Yeah, basically, when I started with Shopify development, it was an app I've built myself together with a friend,
Oh, that's right.
and that was a bit of a starting point. So now I get sometimes Shopify projects to do.
Hmm.
So a while back, I created an integration for a company, and it was basically payment provider. So it added some payment methods to the checkout, and then the users would get redirected to there, and then eventually to a payment page
Hmm.
and back.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's the most things I'm doing. So I did some front end work here and there, but it's not really what I get excited about. It's
Gotcha.
more the back end stuff
Yeah.
what I'm doing.
Yeah. That makes sense. Was it fun building out the tall Magento prototype?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, normally when you're building with Magento, you have to flush your caches all the time. Then there's the cache watcher from V9, so that helps a lot. But still, when you're developing, you have constantly you do a refresh and you have to wait, and it's always
It's
slow.
slow. Yeah.
And so, for example, today I had to create a database table, and before you have the whole repository and then the models and things like that, you are a few hours further. Uh,
Right.
but when I was building this project, everything just went fast because you don't have to touch Magento for any code changes or things like that.
Yeah.
So the cache is always warm when you're developing. So overall, GraphQL endpoints feel really fast. And when developing on the Laravel side, also that development is also really fast.
Mhm.
So overall, the experience was uh, it was a real good experience to build that. Yeah,
Mhm. I think I also saw you mention some caching and a debug toolbar thing that you created in your demo. Um,
yeah.
so is there a caching layer on your side, or you're just talking about like Magento having Magento's caching layer?
Well, in the beginning, I didn't have cache, but now, yeah, I've added cache. So basically, for the card, I'm only pulling the card data when I'm doing some mutations, like adding a product or removing a product.
Hmm.
And I immediately save it to the cache, and then when somebody views the card, it basically comes out of the cache.
Nice,
So and I've added it to some other places, like the product list is cached and things like that.
nice. And so, in general, the way that it works, so does it just like the product list, for example, you hit the homepage, does it grab the products over the API just on the fly and then over GraphQL and then renders them and then saves that to a what are you using to cache within your project? Using like a PHP package for that?
No, just what is in Laravel. So
Oh, right, right,
I think locally I'm using Redis, but I'm not even sure what's on the
right.
server.
Okay,
I think Redis too.
okay. So then you just pull like the product catalog and stuff like that on the fly and just cache it on your side. So you don't
Yeah,
have
yeah.
you're not I mean obviously you're not like creating database tables for any of that stuff within your
No,
application.
there's no database attached to it.
Right. Right.
So
Nice.
basically, when the product list is fetched, the response from Magento is then put in a cache, and on the second time, it's reduced from the cache.
Mhm. Mhm. Nice. That's nice and clean.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I saw you were building out like the checkout. Are you imagining that you'll build out like your own checkout like for things like I think you mentioned order totals was something you were going to work on and stuff like that. Is that all going to be
Yeah.
pretty simple to just hit over the API to like? Because when I think about like calculating order totals and taxes, all that kind of stuff, it seems like a nightmare. But is that all pretty clean to just grab over the API?
Yeah, most things are. So the order totals are already built. I've done it last week. So most part is pretty simple. But then to get the shipping cost in there, that's I skipped it on purpose for now. But I have to come back and check out how that's done
Right,
later.
right.
But for now, when you add shipping, when you select the shipping method, the total will go up,
Hmm.
but you have no idea why. So you can fetch the order totals from the GraphQL endpoint from Magento, but for some reason the shipping costs
they're
are
not
not in
they're not
there.
included. That's like a bug on the GraphQL side.
I'm not sure if it's a bug or it's on purpose, but you can't fetch them in the same call.
Gotcha, gotcha. That's annoying. Um, Yeah. Is it common in the Netherlands for like is there like SaaS plugins for shipping stuff? Like I feel like that's pretty common over here. Like most people don't use like the regular shipping rates, they're gonna plug into some SaaS option that's gonna give them different options and stuff.
Yeah, you have both. So in the Netherlands, it used to be that the post company was owned by the government. That changed, I don't know, 20, 30 years ago, something like that. But in general, they are still the number one in sending post and packages. And they have a pretty good Magento plugin themselves. So that's one way you can go. But then again, there are also some SaaS providers that do the same thing, but then also for other suppliers.
Gotcha. Well, yeah, it looks like a really fun project. Anything else you wanted to share, or any feedback? Obviously, hopefully we can find somebody that wants to build that out as a client. But anything else you wanted to talk about on that?
Yeah, some last week I put out a tweet like, yeah, I built the order totals now. So what should I build next? So I put up a poll.
Mm-hmm.
Um, not sure what the options were, but most votes did go to the bundle slash, I don't know, it was the other option.
Mm,
But, so that's what I'm building now. This week is kind of busy for me, but when I have time, I'm building on that.
nice.
So that's why I built the GraphQL endpoint to DTO thing.
Mm,
Just because I ended up building new DTOs while I knew there was a way to automate that. So that's now there, but now I have to continue with building out the bundle parts.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, I already dove into that a little bit, and it's kind of hard to build, and it's more like Magento does it pretty good on the front end, but now I have to implement this in the Laravel project.
Yeah,
So that's kind of a challenge.
that sounds tough. So how are you gonna go about implementing that? Like which API call what are you gonna be able to pull down over the API, and what are you gonna have to do within like
Well,
blocks?
by the looks of it, you can pull in just about anything about it. So you can pull in the simple products below that. You can pull in the minimum maximum price, uh, the price ranges that are available. So the GraphQL provides a whole lot of information about that. But then you have to implement it in your own front end yet. So that's a big challenge in there.
Mm,
And they
yeah.
also added things like this is optional and this is the default choice, and it goes pretty far. But
Mm,
yeah, you still have to implement it yourself.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So it's doable, but it's a lot of work.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds like a lot of work. So, well, best of luck with that. It's a great project. Hope to see that continue to get developed. I saw you'd posted about ordering Tony Hawk Pro Skater recently.
Oh yeah.
How do you are you I've been talking to people about like gaming, like particularly now as like a way to like socialize and like connect with other people. Like a lot of teams are not spending time together and stuff like that. Like, do you end up gaming with like other developers that you know and stuff like that?
No, I don't
Just for
even
fun.
have what's it called, the PlayStation Plus account.
Okay.
So I just do it local.
Uh
Uh, Actually, when I started the PlayStation again for that, it showed me that I didn't turn it on in like 1.5 years or so. So
okay.
I don't game a lot, but yeah, Tony Hawk Pro Skater is something I did when I was I don't know 12, 13 years or so,
Yeah.
and I played it for hours and hours
Nice.
together with my brother. So yeah, when there was new version, I had to order it
Had to
and
check it
play
out.
it.
How do you like it?
Yeah.
Is it good?
Oh yeah, it's great, but a lot of the maps I can't remember them, so it's a whole new experience.
Yeah. I heard him on a podcast recently. It's great. He's like 50 something now, I think. Tony Hawk. He's like
Yeah,
he's like old. But
I think he was on was it Joe Regan a
yeah,
while
I
ago.
think so. Maybe Tim Ferriss or maybe both of them. I don't know.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty good story his life. So
Yeah. Yeah. Have you ever skated? Do you skate at all yourself?
yeah,
Yeah?
now no, not anymore. But
Used to?
when I used to, but last year I was traveling to some clients a lot.
Ah,
So I was like, yeah, and it was in the city, so you have to go by public transport to get there, and then you have to walk like 1 or 2 kilometers. And I was like, yeah, skateboard would be cool now. So I was thinking about it, but yeah, then I moved back here, so I didn't need it. So it's still maybe when COVID is over and we get back to the cities, I might even buy one again.
nice. Yeah, I was thinking I have an old one I've had. God, man, I've had it for like probably like 20 years now. And I'll every
Mm.
once in a while. I used to skate when I was a kid, so
Yeah, yeah.
every once in a while I'll go. But actually, the other day I started looking up like skate parks. I was like thinking about like going to a skate park just for fun. I would be so old. So I would be like definitely like the oldest person there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I was
I
like,
think Peter Jaap, he's also posting on Twitter that he's taking classes
oh
in
really?
skateboarding.
Oh,
So
that's funny.
yeah, yeah. I thought that was pretty cool to do.
Yeah.
But as far as I know, there's nothing around here that where I can do it myself. So
Yeah, yeah.
it's a bit of a shame.
Yeah. Is it like in the countryside, are the streets like easy to skate on, or are they like the streets like bumpy? Like are
Um,
there sidewalks and stuff like that?
yeah, yeah. There are sidewalks.
Okay.
Um, but where I live, the most of the roads are yeah just not highways, but yeah, there are no
It's not a
curves
good place.
around.
Yeah.
Nah, not the best place.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
So it's some in the more smaller cities. There are a lot of there are places that are good to skate, but yeah,
Yeah. Is it really
I live a
pretty?
bit too far away.
Is it really pretty where
Oh
you
yeah,
live? Yeah. Nice.
yeah. I actually live on an island
Really?
in the Netherlands. We have, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Damn.
We have 5 islands in the Netherlands, and I live on the biggest one.
Wow.
So yeah, it's and a lot of tourists come over every year.
Cool. What's the island called?
That's all.
Texel. Okay. Cool.
Yeah,
And the internet's good?
yeah,
The internet's
yeah, yeah,
fast?
yeah. I have fiber, so yeah,
Okay.
it's good.
That's the important thing. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I
So when I moved here, I had the choice of two providers. So one is a local one, and they could offer fiber, and the other one is I think the biggest in the Netherlands. Uh, but the best package they had was like 2 megabits download or something like that. So yeah,
that's not
I,
okay.
I no,
No.
no, that wouldn't be an option to work from.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you guys like to have your good internet speeds. Um
Yeah,
I saw you did a cool home automation like notification for like physical mail.
yeah, yeah,
How
yeah,
does
yeah.
that how does that so there's like an open source like Alexa type thing that you use or something like that, and then how did you set that up?
Uh, yeah, you're going down a deep hole now. um, so I spent way too much time on this. So some people are learning new hobbies on the lockdown things. I spent a lot of time on automating my home.
Uh-huh.
So on the attic above me, I have a Raspberry running, and that runs Home Assistant. And Home Assistant you can attach just about any IoT device to. So that's the same for my mailbox. I have a small, really small mini computer in there that connected to a reed switch, and reed switch is basically a switch that goes on and off when a magnet goes by it.
Gotcha.
So I got the magnet on the lid, and then the computer on the other side.
Nice.
And when the lid moves, the thing goes on and off real fast.
Yeah.
And when it goes on, it connects to the Wi-Fi, sends a message, and it then shuts itself
How
down.
does it send the message? Is it just an email or?
MQTT. So uh, MQTT, that's a protocol for IoT
Oh,
devices,
okay.
and
Gotcha.
it just sends a message to the server, and other devices can listen to it.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So yeah,
And that's what
and
the
I've configured.
That's what your
I've configured
home
yeah,
assistant.
that's what the Home Assistant does. It listens for that kind of messages,
Gotcha.
and then you can automate it.
Nice.
So I did the same for my doorbell. When someone rings it, the lights go on and off, and I get a message, and a video gets recorded.
Nice.
And around 7, when my daughter goes to sleep, it automatically turns itself off.
Yeah.
But when we leave the house, it will turn itself on and all kinds of things.
That's pretty cool. Does
Yeah.
it work pretty consistently, or do you run into like weird bugs where it just doesn't work or like
No, no, no.
crashes?
There's
It's pretty stable.
the yeah. It's a pretty big project, and
Yeah.
it's around for 8 years or so. So
Nice.
it's a really stable project, and it works really really nice.
That's cool, man. It's like all the stuff that like we have something called ring.com that does like the video doorbell.
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah, yeah.
I basically built it
You
myself.
basically built that yourself, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
They
yeah,
char they charge like $3 a month, which is like, okay, fine, whatever. I don't care. It's $3. But then they charge you for each camera. So we added like 2 more
yeah,
cameras, and
yeah,
then you
yeah,
gotta,
yeah.
yeah, so then you just, and then if you want to get them in the backyard, and then all of a sudden you're paying like $20 a month for all these little
Yeah, yeah,
cameras,
yeah,
and
yeah,
just like
yeah,
just adds up. Um, that's cool, man. Any other cool automations that you've done? Home automations?
yeah. Yeah, so recently I automated my blinds.
Oh
So
yeah,
that's still yeah, that's a sort of yeah, project in progress. So I now have a button, and when I push it, the blinds go up or down.
nice.
It takes like 2 or 3 minutes. While this thing is no, just pretty small, but it's still it's kind of
It
cool.
takes 2 or 3 minutes for the blinds to open.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's a long
They're
time.
not that big, but it's still it goes very slowly. So when the sun comes out of the clouds, and it shines right in your face, and you push the button, you can better get a coffee or something because it takes a while. But
Right.
I still think it's pretty cool.
That's really cool, man. I love it. Well, man,
Yeah,
it was really fun to catch up with you and chat a little bit. Where's the best place for people to find you online?
Twitter,
Okay. And your
Twitter, or my blog, those two.
what was your Twitter handle again?
MBD Gerritsen.
Okay. Perfect.